What's up, legends? I'm live here, and this is all about how I lost over $300,000 in the stock market. So if you're tuning in live to our Facebook group, feel free to leave a comment. If you're tuning in live to YouTube, leave a comment. And of course, if you're on our Facebook page, do the same thing. Feel like you need to interact, go for it. Ask me questions as I explain to you how I lost over $300,000 in the stock market. So I'm going to explain to you actually how I lost way more than that at the end of this. So stick around. And also, if you haven't done so yet, jump into our Facebook group and, of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. So how did this actually happen? Well, you'll be pleased to know that it wasn't a sustained loss. But what actually happened was when you invest in stocks, there are two types of losses. Mistakes of commission, where you actually make mistakes and you lose money, and then mistakes of omission, where you actually don't act and then that costs you a ton of money. Mistakes of omission are way more expensive, which I'll talk to you about in a second. But this was a mistake of commission, but I saved it. So what actually happened was how I lost $300,000 in the stock market is I built a share portfolio over time, a seven-figure share portfolio, starting with about $2,000, just bit by bit, invested and built it up to seven figures. And during COVID, what happened was the stock market collapsed around about 30% in a matter of weeks. I don't know if you remember that, but I remember my portfolio fell. It probably fell over $350,000 actually in a number of weeks. And what's interesting about that is a lot of people would say, wow, you must have been like concerned or worried about, seeing that. And for sure, I mean, if you're looking at your portfolio and you're seeing red, and it's just dropping. It's not pleasant, is it? Because you don't know how far it's going to drop, what's going to happen. But the reality was I didn't actually feel ever like I was going to lose all my money. I was never positioned in any businesses that were going to lose a ton of money during the pandemic at all. So I didn't have any money in Virgin or anything like that. And so I wasn't concerned about losing the 350,000. I was concerned about when do I buy more here? And what am I going to miss? So if I don't act, what opportunities am I going to miss that's going to cost me way more in the future? And the thing with stock market collapses or crashes is that if you don't have any spare capital or cash hanging available, it is difficult to actually then go and deploy the capital during uncertain times like the pandemic or the GFC. Okay. So you've got to have a little bit of cash for those chances where they don't come around often. But whatever the case may be, we started buying into that market, but we bought into the travel sector that just collapsed even more. So that contributed to the fact that we lost even more. But here's the catch. We didn't sell. We didn't panic and sell. Okay. We knew that COVID was a short-term problem that the world would resolve in the next couple of years. Even our travel exposure, we knew that they would come out of that because it wasn't a long-term problem. I looked at the figures of what the mortality rate of COVID was. I made a bet thinking, well, this is not going to last forever and we're going to come out of this. So didn't panic sell, didn't lock in the losses. When you're investing in shares or any asset for that matter, and it falls drastically in value, it's very easy to freak out and just click the button and sell and lock in your losses. So if I had have done that, we would have locked in over $350,000 worth of losses, just like that, bang. And people say, well, why didn't you sell and then rebuy back in? But if you play that game, the trading game, if I had done that, sold it and watched it fall, I would have said, oh, I'll wait for it to go down a bit more, then I'll buy. But then it would have gone back up. I was like, oh, I missed my chance. And then it goes back up and you've lost it. So you can't dance in and out of the market like that. You have to just buy and hold and add to your position through weakness like this during the opportunities that arise from big collapses in the share market. Like what we've seen in the USA, the tech sector over the last year, it's collapsed like 25+% across that main sector. Some businesses like Facebook is 60, 70% down. So the worst thing you can do is lock in losses, okay? So I didn't do that, and thankfully the market rebounded. COVID was gone. Well, effectively it's gone now, in terms of the panic component of it. And the portfolio rolls back up, okay? Now, if you're intelligent and you know what you're doing, you're buying during that weakness so that when your actual portfolio grows and the market recovers, you make a ton more money because you've bought at a really good time. So most money is bought in bear markets or in down markets. It's just that you don't realize the money until later, okay? So that's a real good thing to remember when we're going through weakness in the share market. So if interest rates are going up and the market's falling, then of course it's probably a good time to buy. But you don't make your money now, you make it when the market recovers into the future. And certainly the longer you hold, the smarter you look, because it just keeps compounding over and over and over again, right? So that's not the biggest mistake that I've made, though, in investing. That's a mistake of commission, right? But it wasn't really a mistake, I don't think, because I didn't sell. Okay, I didn't lock in losses. My biggest actual loss of locked-in losses is $60,000. That's what I've locked in to lose. I've lost $60,000. I bought a company a few years ago that was paying a good dividend and could have kept it, but the opportunity cost of the 250 odd thousand I had in there, I could have deployed that elsewhere and made more. So I thought, it's going to cost me $60K to lock in this loss that I've experienced here, but I'm using the capital to go and deploy elsewhere to hopefully double the money in the next 3 years, which will retract the losses and perform better. So sometimes when you actually sell and take a loss, if you can deploy the capital, more effectively and get better return, then sometimes it's appropriate to do that. Okay. I'm not saying all the time, but that would be the most, that's the most that I've ever locked in as a loss in terms of investing in markets, because I never forget rule number 1, which is never lose money. And then rule number 2 is never forget rule number 1. Okay. So I'm always very diligent as to what I'm deploying my money into, so I know what the downside is before I go into it, so that I'm ready for the downside. Okay. And you'll never pick the perfect bottom. You'll never pick the perfect, time to jump into a business or a real estate or whatever it is. You've just got to see the value. When you see that there's value available, you buy and then you hold, right? But the worst mistake I've made, and this has cost me probably $1 million, I would think, is an act of omission where I haven't actually acted on anything. And I would say this happened when I was investing in Australian banks, kind of during the Royal Commission, and I was getting an okay deal. It's fine, like it was an okay investment, but I bought the wrong thing instead of buying tech in 2019, and certainly around even 2017, 2018, when Warren Buffett was aggressively buying Apple. It's just it was such an easy business to spot. I mean, following him into $50 billion position would have been very smart, but I didn't. Suck my thumb and did nothing, and just didn't do that. And I reckon that would cost me, probably cost me $600,000, maybe not $1 million, maybe 600,000, because I didn't act. So if you think about that, the 600,000 then compounded into the future by another 20 years, that mistake may be a $4.5 million mistake, right? That's an act of omission. When it's called opportunity cost. When you miss an opportunity and it compounds away from you without you catching it, that's a huge mistake. It's a multi-million-dollar mistake. And this is what happens if you let fear get in the way of some of your investing decisions, or fear get in the way of your own personal investing in yourself, taking courses, doing programs, reading books, whatever it is. The actual results or the losses you experience by not taking action can be the most expensive. Okay. And fear holds everyone back, right, from making decisions. Fear held me back, so it was the unknown. But I knew enough to do it. I had enough skill to do it, and I didn't do it. And whenever you've got the ability to do something, and the skill and the capital and everything's in your favor, and you sit around and suck your thumb and do nothing, then that can cost you a lot of money. So there's this saying we have, a couple of my friends say it too, but action takers are money makers. As long as you understand what you're getting into, then if you don't make decisions, that can cost you a lot of money. So I have definitely lost a lot more than that. If you look at acts of omission, things I haven't done, but thankfully I've limited my losses in the market, because if you have experience and you know what you're doing, then you make a lot of money when you buy. You don't have to worry too much about the upside, because the downside is so well protected. Okay, so that's some of the principles that I teach in one of my programs. When we talk about investing. But I hope that's been effective for you. If you want to learn more about any of our programs or talk to one of our coaches, we got 2 complimentary coaching sessions for anyone who buys my book, Money Buys Happiness and Money Grows on Trees. Click on this, 5stepsmillions.com, and you can go chat to one of our coaches, and they can talk to you about where you're at financially, where you want to go, and what's holding you back. All right. So I hope that's been a valuable live for you. If you've got any questions or comments about this, just pop them below and tag a friend in this if you want them to listen to this too. And I'll see you on the next live.